Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Hit My Mic. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to talk about the concept of pop reports. And so, just a few parameters. When we refer to pop reports, we're just talking about the total population of a card of a single grade. Usually, when we refer to pop reports, we're always going to be referring to the Gem Mint copy. Uh, we are going to refer to PSA because they're the leading grading company. There are other companies like CGC, BGS, Tag, and all sorts of other ones. They're all great, in my opinion. They have their flaws too, just like PSA. But PSA is undeniably the leader of this industry, and so we'll refer to that. So why am I showing you guys this card? Pikachu with Great Fell Hat. So just a little background. This came out in 2023, as the screen indicates, and this came out in October of 2023. I remember distinctly. I was at Disneyland with my then fiance. Now she became my wife. I did not have access to my phone because I left it in my pocket. Wanted to dedicate the whole day to her, which I should. Um, but when I found out later that this dropped on the day I was at Disneyland, I was a little bummed, not gonna lie. And I knew that this card was going to be distributed, really heavily. And but it was tough. It was tough getting this promo. And also at the time, we were kind of like in a down period too for English Pokemon. We had just came off the heels of the summer with the Japanese boom, but specifically with English, we were kind of in a lull, and I didn't want to pay these prices. I think it was like starting off like at $200, and I thought for a card that was given out for free that you can just buy from the Pokemon Center, really wasn't worth it. And I think it got as low as $90 at one point, and I still passed. I think it has to do with the psychology of like things that are plentiful and they're available. We don't really want them, but I really regret not getting this. But the reason why I'm showing you this is because the population report. So, given that there are 41,174 as of this video, I imagine there's, probably thousands more or hundreds more at least that are waiting to get graded at PSA currently. And the most recent price, according to the site, is $1,031. And yeah. So how does something that is graded so heavily and so widely available command such a premium? Some people would say market manipulation. I think there is, some stuff, some nefarious stuff that goes on, especially like right now in vintage, like with the gold stars. And also, we already know, well, we can always, have our theories, I guess, on that. But maybe it's not, maybe it's genuine interest, but those prices are pretty crazy. But we did find out recently, someone's been shilling, openly admitting shilling the Poncho cards for the Pikachu. So you just gotta be careful, guys, when you're spending, this amount of money on cards. But anyways, this is so widely available. It sells numerous times daily, and it's commanding over $1,000. And they just really recently spiked in the last few months. Um, anyways, let's take a look at another example. So we have the Moonbreon, and we'll take a look at the pop report too, but it's pretty excessive as well. And these are selling multiple times a day, around 2,800 now, which is pretty crazy. I remember I had a chance of buying one for like $800 like 3 years ago when it was going through a little downtrend, and predictably I passed on it. And let's take a look at the artwork real quick. Actually, let's go to the pop report for that. Oops. Ooh, didn't mean for that to pop up. All right, so we have here, let's take a look at, make sure it's the English one right here, 215. We have 17,627 graded in a 10 as of today, as of this recorded. Pretty crazy. If you compare that to, let's just say, a Blastoise, granted it's not like a super crazy card, but Blastoise is popular. I chose this example just to kind of illustrate my point. This recently sold today for less than $180. It's a PSA 10 Blastoise Hollow from Galactic Conquest, which is the Japanese version of Platinum. And let's take a look at the pop report for that. And it's on an unlimited, not first edition. Just FYI, most of the time in Japanese cards, the first edition is actually printed heavier than the unlimited. So in a 10, there's only 73 copies of this Blastoise Holo. It just sold for less than 180 bucks, I would imagine. So we have a popular character. We have, obviously a more, I guess, rare card. Not that the pull rates are the same, but, you're not going to find this mint, pretty easily. Whereas you can find plenty of Umbreons. So we know the old mantra of this hobby: older, rarer mints are better. This seemingly has a lot of those fundamentals over the likes of the Moonbreon and the Pikachu with Gray Felt Hat. So the question is, what are we not factoring into that older, rarer mints are better? I guess equation of sorts. What's the underlying variable that impacts that whole mantra is demand. Simply put, people just want cards like Moonbreon and Pikachu with Gray Felt Hat. Why? It's cooler. Obviously, art is subjective, but I can admit that this card and the Pikachu's, I would rather have that than this Blastoise, which is reflected in the price, right? The market feels the same as I do. But the question would be, why, if there's so much available, why does it still command a premium? It's just the sheer demand. Really, that's really all it is. Demand basically just drives everything, and doesn't matter if it's 40,000 population, 17,000 population, or less than 100. People have to care about the card that that you're looking at. Obviously, too, another thing about pop reports is that just because something has a low population, that could also mean, you know, people just don't care to grade it because it's not really worth it. So, like, if you look, let's just say, for example, at a random, let's take a look at a random Pokemon. I don't know. We'll say Bruxish. I would imagine the most recent Bruxish, I think, came from, I don't know. Just pick a set. Just pick Bruxish, that fish, the fish with the teeth. My wife hates that Pokemon, and so many of my friends do. So I just use that. You're going to see population reports for graded cards of whatever card from whatever set you pick. It's going to be like super small, right? And so as a population, even though it's small, why doesn't it command high price? Because nobody cares about it. Or that seems pretty harsh, but the market doesn't care. They don't like that card. They don't like that Pokemon, maybe. So that's the low population is not enough to command a higher price, or to come up with this perceived value. So yeah, demand is the key to card values. Doesn't matter if it's older, rarer mints are better. It doesn't matter if it's heavily, if it's printed to the ground. People have to actually like be in love with the card in order for, or enough people do. Enough people have to, have that same sentiment. So just a little quick, rant about pop reports. I keep seeing that a lot in discussions. Demand is the overarching influence of card values, guys. You can also argue market manipulation. I'm not going to do that in this case. I think that many people just want this Pikachu, and for a good reason. So, but just because I acknowledge it's awesome, and I can see why people would be willing to, doesn't mean that I would. Not that, can I afford it? Yeah, but do I feel like it's justified? I just can't. For cards like that, I personally, when I'm collecting, I want cards that not everyone really has. I do have some modern, because I genuinely enjoy it. But if I'm collecting, like in terms of like try to accumulate a nice little portfolio per se of value, I'm gonna go after cards that have less, but that are also valued by the collecting community. Thanks for watching my little spiel about pop reports. If you guys like this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.